There's an Itto rerun incoming, and naturally the big question is, should you get him? No. You have C6 Noelle, baby. Play her instead. We're here with Noelle and Masanori. Now, Noelle and Itto, so take this as both a Noelle and Itto video, they can both be played in a mono Geo team, and that's usually a very popular team for Itto in particular. It's also an equally popular team for someone like Noelle, because you can then just basically let the Geo residents and Voro just buff the crap out of everyone. If I had Albedo or Chiori, I guess. I actually have no idea what Chiori's energy generation capabilities are going to be like. But either way, you can do a lot of damage with Noelle like so. Just like that. Now, that being said, there are a bunch of characters that came out since the Mono Geo days that have actually been quite a benefit to Noelle without necessarily being a benefit to Itto. I am of course referring to Navia and Frina. And so you can have a team like this, where Navia exists as one of the better batteries in my opinion for someone like Noelle, but then you also have Frina, who is a character who can really sort of accentuate the power of Noelle, which is her team healing. And Noelle's doing pretty decent damage as well. And she's also providing the crystallized shards that Navia wants, so that Navia can do even more damage. Just like that. So yeah, Navia is able to funnel a lot of energy particles to Noelle, and Frina is able to make use of Noelle's team healing to buff the entire team, which of course would be a bigger deal if I actually used Miko, but the idea is your final slot could be basically anyone, and in my case, my preferred final slot is of course going to be Miko. Here's the thing about Itto and Noelle. Because they're both on-fielders, you find yourselves in a different situation to other characters that are very similar. For example, Xingqiu Yalan or Baizhu Nahida, where you can play both of them together. You can't really do that with Itto and Noelle. And so you kind of have to choose whether you play Itto or you play Noelle. Most of the time you don't get to play them both, right? As a direct result, they're not that synergistic with each other, which does make things, in my opinion, not so good from Itto's perspective. That being said though, let's have a look at the pros and cons of both. So when it comes to Itto, he does do more damage than Noelle, and I've heard on the grapevine that it's somewhere around 30% more damage. So have a look at all of Noelle's damage at 30%. Apparently that's the idea. I don't know if that's true, that's what I've heard. Okay? He can also generate energy for himself by throwing Ushi at people, whereas Noelle's shield doesn't generate energy, which is kind of one of the big weaknesses of Noelle, is that her energy requirements are insane because she doesn't generate energy herself. And then, it's not exactly a pro, I don't even know what to think about this, but with Itto, he takes more damage during his ult. I don't know why that's a thing, but yeah, his physical and elemental resistance drops. But with Noelle, she can heal. And not only heal, she can heal everyone. So that's really nice. And therefore she can be played with Frina, like I mentioned. On top of that, she has a shield. And so just in general, she's just significantly far more tankier than Itto. In fact, against certain bosses and in certain scenarios, you might even find yourself tankier than Zhongli sometimes, honestly, as Noelle. Like, she's wildly tanky, right? Now, it's entirely possible to play Itto with Frina and Navia, but you will need a team healer. So, Mika, Charlotte, C4 Dory, Barbs, something like that. I don't know. You're going to have to figure out a healer for that. But with Noelle and Frina, you don't need to figure that out because you already have the healer. Her name is Noelle. And so that's why I can put in a team like that, a character like Miko, who is just even more damage. So that's just fantastic. Or Goro, even, if I want. Now, despite this kind of being effectively a Noelle guide, I can advise on how to build Itto too, because guess what? Building Noelle actually builds Itto. Okay, so when it comes to weapons, let's start off with that, because they both use the same weapons. It's Red Horn and Pipeline. That's it. Or Favs if you're really desperate for energy. But there's no other real options, really. Other DPS Claymores are fine, but considering that Pipeline is a craftable weapon, I don't think it's worth talking about. So yeah, it's Red Horn or Pipeline. And also the difference between Red Horn and Pipeline isn't massive, but it's there. So it's definitely an option if you want to, let's say, upgrade your C6 Noelle, because you've got C6 Noelle. You don't really have anything else to do. So you can swap from Pipeline to Red Horn. That's a good idea. Now, when it comes to artifacts, both Itto and Noelle will generally be using the Husk of Opulent Dreams artifact set no matter what. It's really, really good. It's got defense, it's got Geo bonus. Gotta love that, right? Now, with Noelle in particular, you could also run the Bolite set. It's fine. In fact, it's pretty decent, I think, for Noelle, but you do need a shield for that. You could potentially get a shield from crystallizers, or you can potentially get a shield from just her shield itself. So it's actually not a bad idea, especially in a Navia, Miko, Furina team, for example. You're probably going to get a lot of crystallized shields out of that, so there is an option. But it's definitely not something I would recommend farming for. Probably something you could look into strongboxing if you want. But just keep in mind that the Husk of Opulent Dreams set is just so good anyway, that would be the one I would stick with. Okay, if you're playing with Furina, both Itto and Noelle can actually use the Marashosei set to its absolute fullest, because the Marashosei set also gives you charge attack damage bonus, which is the bread and butter of Itto's gameplay, and then also it's kind of also the bread and butter of Noelle's gameplay, because she uses both normal attacks and charge attacks. It just depends on who you are. So that's really, really good. And then on top of that, you get the crit rate bonus that comes from Marashosei, which is even better on someone like Noelle, because she's healing herself as well as getting her health drained by someone like Furina. So that's a really, really good choice. And then finally, I'm just going to say this. You could totally play Nighttime of Whispering Woods, but it would be extremely niche. The attack bonus on it is not really that great. But you do get a bunch of Geo damage bonus, which could be potentially really nice. Look, I'm just saying, it's a thing that exists, and it's new. So I'll just mention it's a choice. But my general personal recommendation is still going to be Husk. It's what I use on my Noelle. It's probably what I would use on my Itto if I ever got him, which I won't. So, there we go. Oh, and in terms of the artifact stats themselves, very straightforward. Defense, Geo, crit. Unless you're playing with Furina, in which case you could potentially go defense, defense, crit. And the reason why defense is really, really good for both Itto and Noelle is that for Itto, defense is used as part of one of his Ascension passives, which gives him a charge attack damage bonus. Whereas with Noelle, her shield also scales off defense. And then for both of them, their ults convert a lot of their defense into attack. So for example, with my Noelle, with a whole bunch of defense, I actually end up with about 5,000 attack when I use my ult. So that's really, really nice. That's also why Goro is a really good choice in a lot of Itto and Noelle teams. Now let's go through Constellations. I'll go through both of them. Because Noelle can be grabbed once every half year from Paimon's shop and is also available from the Beginner's Wish once, and is also a 4-star, it's quite easy to get her to C6. So let's go through all of the constellations that you get with Noelle, and let me give you an idea of how useful they are. Number 1, C1 is actually pretty damn good, especially now that Furina exists, because with C1, it basically means that you are always healing whenever you hit enemies with your ult-infused normal attacks or spin to win. So that's really, really good. C2 also allows you to spin longer, in the sense that you use less stamina. Now, if you use a trick where you open up a map or some other UI mid-spin, you actually get to spin right until you ran out of stamina. And I'm pretty sure that hasn't been removed yet. So that's an option. C3 and 5 are actually both pretty useful because it's shield levels, which also increases healing, I believe, and then also its ult levels, which increases the amount of damage that you do as well. So that's kind of nice. And then on top of that, you have C4, which gives you extra damage in the form of your shield exploding, and this is actually just like always there. It's basically free damage that you get when you use your skill, because it will eventually explode. Whether it expires or whether it breaks, doesn't matter. You will find like just this particularly random but very hard-hitting Geo hit that comes from your shield exploding. So I definitely recommend using that to its fullest. So stay close to enemies with Noelle, which you should, because she is, you know, a melee character. And you will get a free extra hit of just a whole lot of damage from Noelle. Which is even better if you actually convert a lot of your defense into attack as part of your ult. So yeah, it does a lot of damage. And then C6 is a big one, because that's the part that makes Noelle do just a lot of damage. To the point where it starts getting a little bit more comparable to Itto. So yeah, if you have C6, use it and start playing Noelle more. That's the way. Now with Itto, obviously I don't have him, so I can't really speak on a first-hand basis, but I will give you my thoughts on it anyway. C1 is supposed to help with his stacking mechanic, which is actually kind of useful. So yeah, it's not a bad constellation. I don't know if it's one of those C1s that people don't really care about on their way to C2 though, but it's there. It's useful. C2 is an energy constellation, which is probably useful for Itto, because I think Itto, like Noelle, does have some energy problems as well. I'm not 100% sure how much energy you need to build for Itto. But for Noelle, like, I have 140 something energy thereabouts, 120 something energy thereabouts, but with Navia it should be okay. Whereas with Itto, it's probably a little bit lower, and you should be fine if you have Navia, but it probably is going to be a lot higher if you're using someone else. C3 actually isn't terribly that important unless you're an Ushi main, in which case go nuts. C4, I don't even think it's all that useful, because Itto teams, being specifically mono Geo, they almost tend to focus on his damage. Now, of course, if you're bringing someone along like, I don't know, Albedo, then C4 Itto might be nice. But for everyone else, it's kind of a whole lot of who cares. C5 damage is just straight up damage increase on his ult, which is useful. And then C6 is once again another big one. Of course, when you have C6 Itto, you basically have an infinite chain of charge attacks, which is pretty nice, actually. If you've seen the video of that, it's kind of hilarious that he just keeps going and he doesn't stop. So if you like that, go for it. But look, is it worth the... Who the hell knows how much it takes to get to C6 Itto? I probably would say no. You do also get a bunch of crit damage on your charge attack as well, which if you pair that with Redhorn Stone Thresher is a lot of charge attack damage. So yeah, that's kind of nice. Look, ultimately you don't need Constellations on Itto. He's absolutely perfectly fine from what I've seen at C0. But with Noelle, you kind of do want to get all of her Constellations, but it is rather easy because she's existed since the dawn of time, and she's part of a beginner's wish, and she's on the shop. So yeah, getting C6 Noelle is a big recommendation, 100%. Look, in the end, I don't have any intention of getting Itto. I still don't. I never did. And really the only times that I was maybe thinking about getting Itto was just a desperate attempt to get Goro Constellations, but now that Itto is being rerun with other characters, annoyingly enough, he keeps getting rerun with characters I don't really want. For example, Scary Memes, or in this case, Chiori. I'm not really all that interested in getting Chiori myself. So we'll see what happens, but I won't be rolling on an Itto banner anytime soon. But I might try and get some Goro Constellations from the Chiori banner. I don't know. Either way though, his attitude, his himbo sort of personality, it's not really something that I like. But I like Noelle. I like Noelle a lot. And so, I don't need to get Itto. I don't need to get Itto. I have Noelle. Let me know what all of this in the comments below. How do you feel about Itto or Noelle? Let me know in the comments, because again, he's just 5-star Noelle. So, what's going on here? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
之，先修战。现在等等看，我会注意女仆的礼仪，岩石的重量令人安心。